If you've seen me on Twitter or YouTube, you might know me as a pretty hardcore Snyderverse Superman defender. I went over the many criticisms he's got, debunked the whole he has no personality thingy, defended the Lois Lane is paired with plus their relationship, but as we draw closer to the release of the James Gunn Superman film, a new criticism reared its ugly head. Superman chose to horror farm instead of saving people from the explosion, usually accompanied by clips of David Cohen's Sweet Superman saving people. Now, if you've been actually watching these films, you know Snyder's Superman very much saves a lot of people, but supporters of the Superman Club, essentially those that want Superman to be a wholesome image and nothing else, took heavy issue with the fact that Zack Snyder films don't weigh on such acts of heroism. The camera doesn't stay long enough for audiences to go, "Oh, he's so sweet," before the action continues.
You okay? You okay?
This is because Zack Snyder is more so a showing characters and letting people discuss type of storyteller, rather than one focused on telling audiences what they should feel, which goes in deep contrast with the much more sentimental MCU originating James Gunn. But without Snyder's films directly contradicting certain ideas but not approving of them either, many take it upon themselves to say that Snyder always pushes for problematic ideas as an unquestioned given and regardless of what these films actually say. And thus we return to this scene, which I talked about in a recent video. To say that Superman quote-unquote let these people die implies a level of power over the situation plus a deliberate decision to not act upon it. This notion requires one to ignore many elements in this film, like the bomb being shielded in lead, something X-ray sight cannot see through, Clark not thinking anyone could ever pull such a thing, something he admonishes himself for later, and most importantly, the fact that we never see this Superman move at time-stopping speeds. I know that super speed is a staple for the character, but it is not unheard of for adaptations to go for a more grounded power set. But let's pretend Clark was able to see the bomb, was cynical enough to believe this was gonna happen, and was fast enough to react to it in real time. There's still nothing he could have done, as the speeds he would have had to move to keep up with the bomb would have been lethal for any human being he tried to save. So quicksilvering his way out of this problem is not an option. Think more A-Train. Snyder was very clear that even his flesh needed to move people very slowly when going at super speed. Speaking of, but Hulk, I hear you say, what about this scene where he keeps up with the Flash? And to that I say, okay, at which speeds are they moving? Do we just assume Flash always moves at light speed / time warping speed, and never anything less? Do we ignore how this is a Speed Force / Motherbox resurrected Clark, very much blurring the lines on how reliable this feat is for standard Snyderverse Clark? But this is all for the practical side of things. When it comes to things like an actor's performance, we get into the more subjective side of things. So now we look at the whole he chose to horror farm thingy. And no, I've talked to great length about how Snyderverse Clark being a more quiet and reserved portrayal doesn't go against any of Superman's core tenets. But if you wanna push the narrative that Superman is deliberately choosing to stand and look cool for an imaginary camera instead of helping, especially for this iteration, I'm sorry, you will be made fun of. I always personally interpreted this scene as Clark seeing, hearing and feeling so much death all at once that he's just frozen physically as he is overwhelmed mentally. Notice how he doesn't even dare to look around him, because he knows all too well what he'll see if he does. Instead, he just disapprovingly nods to himself as he realizes what he failed to stop, even tearing up a bit. And for all the people still desperately trying to paint Snyderverse Clark as this detached, emotionless, godlike figure a la Dr. Manhattan, the scene immediately after has literally Clark still trying to help and then gets so emotionally overwhelmed by all the dead he failed to save that he flies away in shame. An emotionally detached person would not have an emotional threshold of how much they can take before leaving. And no, I won't accept but this came in the Ultimate Edition after the theatrical cut excuse because it still came out in the same year as the theatrical cut, meaning there's very little excuse to ignore a scene that should have never been cut. Not that I particularly trust Warner Brothers when it comes to what to cut and what not. Anyway, yeah, I want to get one Snyderverse Superman video out of the way as I often do, because I haven't done so in a while. I'm currently busy with my summer job for at least another month or so don't expect too much extra content besides shorts and my Death Bell reviews/reactions, but hey, who knows, maybe I managed to squeeze something out. Only one way to find out. Thanks! In the meantime, drink lots of water, I'll do the same. Orko Krypton, hoping I made your day slightly better.